So today we are going to continue with biotic factors. Last week Tuesday we looked at the abiotic factors and how they affect living organisms in their habitat, in general in their ecosystem. So today we are going to look at the biotic factors, and if time permits, we'll look at the types of habitat. So these two things. So look at the biotic factors. They are about 12 in number. Then the types of habitats. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, the biotic factors. Now one will ask, what are they? Uh, One will ask, what are they? Please pardon me. Uh, some people are trying to join. Okay, so you ask, what are they? Now, there are factors that concern living organisms in their habitat and how they affect one another. In simple terms, you can define these biotic factors as biological natural factors that affect organisms in their ecosystem. They are biological, natural occurrences, natural things that occur affecting an organism in an ecosystem. Now, some organisms depend on others for food and shelter. Some are harmful in the community, whilst others are useful. So, from what I just read, you notice that it's their natural factors or biological factors that affect organisms and the ecosystem. Being it they depend on food and shelter, harmful or they are useful in an ecosystem. Now, examples of these natural or biological factors are one, tall tree shelter, shade loving plants as well as animals. Tall trees shelter shade loving plants as well as animals. Now, this statement means that there are trees that are very are taller than others. Now, these tall trees they provide shelter. They provide shelter for the small ones, or let me say the short ones. They provide shelter for the smaller ones, as well as animals. They, in a way, provide means and ways for these organisms to have shade. It's a natural thing that occurs. They don't force it to happen. Two, herbivores feed on plants and may destroy them. Herbivores feed on plants and may destroy them. Now, someone asks, what are herbivores? Now, they are organisms that they feed on only plants, or they feed on plants and plant produce. They don't eat flesh. Their main source of meal is just plants. So these herbivores, they are organisms that feed on plants. Herbivores feeding on plants, and in a way they might destroy them. Look at a goat or a sheep. A goat or a sheep that has been left in the environment. Now they can feed on this uh, plants around, likewise destroying them. Oh, please hold on for me. Okay, sorry. So these herbivores, they feed on plants and they destroy them. They either they, eat, they feed on them, they destroy their activities, or they don't. The third point, you have carnivores. We have carnivores that eat other animals. Now, what are carnivores? Now, these carnivores, they are also organisms that eat flesh. They eat flesh only. They don't eat um, plant produce. Their main produce is basically is flesh. They eat nothing but flesh. Now, let's use the chat button. I want each one of you to give me an example of one, a herbivore, two, a carnivore. Using the chat button, I want each one of you to give me a herbivore. I explain a herbivore as an organism that eats only plants or plant produce. Then two, a carnivore is an organism that eats or depends on only flesh for its survival. So I need you to give me one example of each. So I'll start by giving the examples of herbivore. I gave goat as my first example. Then with a carnivore, I choose lion. So use the chat button and send me an example of a herbivore and one example of a carnivore. I'll be waiting. Point 4. Now, certain plants rely on insects and other small animals for pollination and dispersal. Certain plants rely on insects. Okay, Sandra, I have your answer. Johnson, I also have your answer. I'm waiting for the others. Okay, Kelvin, yours is also in. Okay, so certain plants rely on insects and small animals for pollination and dispersal. Now, you have insects like butterfly, grasshopper, termites. Now, these organisms, they are small and they help pollination to take place. They also help to disperse fruits and seeds. Now, these things are natural. It's not induced by temperature. It's not induced by pressure. It's not induced by anything. But it's natural for them to do. Point 5. Many animals are important agents of seed dispersal. That I explained in the previous point. So they factor or they help in the dispersal of fruits and seeds. Okay, Kelvin, Ibrahim, Johnson. Okay. The next point, plants with weak stem use other plants for support in order to reach sunlight. Plants with weak stem use other plants for support in order to reach light. Now this statement means you have plants that's mostly tall plants. Now you would notice that you will find some small plants attached to the tall plants. Now they are just there to what? To for support, one. And this support enables them to be able to reach sunlight on their own to prepare their own food. Now, normally the tall plant is what we call the host. Then the plant that is at the plant with the weak stem attached to the tall tree or tall plant is what we call an epiphyte. Example, if you have a palm tree in your house right now, after the class, you can go and look at on the palm tree. You see that there are some small green-like plants around the palm tree, or they are attached to it. Now, some of those, most of them are fern. They are epiphytes. They are attached to the main plant. Their main purpose there is to reach sunlight on their own, or take energy from the sun on their own. They don't harm the plant. They don't take anything from the plant. No, they are just there for support to reach sunlight. That's all. They make their own food. The next one, symbionts are mutually beneficial. Symbionts are mutually beneficial. Now, this symbiont is an interactive association between organisms. These symbionts are organisms that undergo the process called symbiosis. It's an interactive living association, living mode, whereby organisms interact with each other. They either one benefits, both benefits, or one benefit, the other loses. Now, examples of this symbiont or symbiosis is commensalism, saprophytism, mutualism. We'll talk about them in our later studies, but you need to know that it's just an interaction between organisms, whereby either one benefits from the other, or the other uses the other but does not benefit, and a whole lot. Okay, Abraham, Boache, Jerry, I have your answer. iPhone. You're having iPhone. iPhone, if you could change your name. Okay. The next point. An organism may use other or may use another as habitat. One example of what I just gave you is a parasite living on or inside the living host and may eventually cause harm. Parasites living on or inside the living host and may eventually cause harm. Now, what are parasites? These parasites are organisms that they live on or inside another living organism. These parasites, they live on or inside another organism. They are all organisms, but it either is living on. So when it's living on, that parasite is referred to as ectoparasite. But when it's living inside, the parasite is referred to as endoparasite. Now, it may eventually cause harm to the other partner. They may eventually cause harm to the other organism. That is what we call a parasite. So look at the plasmodium. Plasmodium is a parasite. And myself and yourself, you become a living host for the parasite. So when the parasite starts manifesting, then you said you are getting malaria, or you are prone to malaria. So you are the host. Then The parasite is the plasmodium. Okay, MAPI. Okay, the next one. As I said, epiphytes grow on living hosts, usually a tree, but do not cause them harm. So as I made mention earlier, these epiphytes, that is plants with weak stem, they grow on tall trees, but do not cause them harm. Their main purpose there is for support and to reach sunlight. That's all. So these epiphytes are tall tree. They get themselves attached to plants. As I made mention, the palm tree, you will see that there are some plants attached to them. Now, those are the plants called epiphytes. Most common one is the fern, Fern, fern. The next biotic factor, you have some animals burrow in the soil, thus aerating the soil to beneath plants. Example, earthworm. So you have this earthworm, even termites, they burrow into the soil. Now the word aerating there means that they enable air to pass through the soil easily. Now this air is also required by plants that are under or in the soil. So in a way, earthworms are finding their way into the soil to what? To find a suitable habitat. Likewise, termites. In doing so, they are also helping plants by aerating the soil for plants. So if you can see this, it's something natural that is occurring here. Both are benefiting from it. It's not that this one, it knows that when it does this, this will happen, but it's doing it, and the other is also benefiting from it. The next one, trees and shrubs may provide reproduction and nesting sites for animals, such as birds, whilst insects make their home in all manner of plants, large or small. So these tall trees, short trees, they provide the means where these are flying insects and birds can reproduce. That is where they can live and reproduce successfully. That is where they will nest. That is their habitat. In a way, it provides habitat for them. So tall trees, tall or short trees are nesting place and reproductive place or site for uh, insects and birds. The next point, we have competition. 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 Now, it's a struggle for the finest resources in an ecosystem. When you say you are competing for something, you are in class and you are competing for uh, the one that would be first or would come in first place. Now you are struggling for the finest. When I use the word finest, the best, the excellent resources in an ecosystem, or the use. Either you are using or the defense of resources by an individual that reduces the availability of that resources to other individuals. So in other words, when there is a particular kind of food in an ecosystem, then one organism feeds on that food, preventing the other from enjoying more. That is, they are competing for that food. When you're in an environment and you have so many trees around you, you are competing with that tree. So every resource in that environment, that is in a way both parties are picking from as competition. Now these resources include food, as I made mention earlier, light, water, mating partners and nesting sites. So you can have a breed of species that they fight for mating partners. Even some people fight to gain territories. They fight to gain get a territory for them to colonize. Now, this competition comes in two folds. Now, when this competition takes place between individuals of the same species, it is called intra-specific competition. So, competition that takes place within the same species. So, if it's competition within amongst, let me use sheep, that is what we call intra-specific competition. But when it involves individuals of different species, it is called inter-specific competition. So for the intra, you have organisms of the same species. If it's goats, it's all goats or sheep. What competing for a particular kind of resource in the ecosystem. Or you can have different species. You have goats, you have cow, you have fowl, you have horse in the same ecosystem, different species. That's what we call inter-specific competition. Inter-specific competition. So note these two, inter and intra. Intra is for the same species, inter is for different species. Okay, so the last 2 points, then we wrap up on the biotic factors. We have predation. Predation. Now this predation takes place between a predator and the prey. It's a type of interaction in which one animal seizes another animal and eats it as food. The animal that is fed on is a prey, and the predator is a carnivorous animal that kills and eats other animals. So let me use an example that you, during Christmas, Easter, or during the Salah celebrations, where you go and capture a goat or a cow, you kill it and eat for food. At that point, you are a predator. Then the cow or the goat becomes a prey because you are feeding on what? The goat or the cow. So this interaction takes place where one organism feeds on the other. The one that is feeding on the other is what we call the predator, and the one that is being fed on is the prey. Always remember, the predators are carnivorous animals. They are carnivores. The predators are carnivores. Always remember. Okay, the last point. Human influence on natural habitat has been the greatest in agriculture. So agriculture, we go to the farmlands. We either farm for farm produce or rear animals. So that is a medium through which we can also help or we interact with our ecosystem. 2, urbanization, where we are all living in what? In a particular environment, an urban zone environment. We are living, interacting with each other in an ecosystem. 3, road construction. Government would construct roads for to be able to enable resources to move from one point to another, to enable cars to move from one point to another. It's all part of these natural things that takes place. Industrialization. The word is from the word industries. So we haven't produce from industries, how they can affect my ecosystem when their raw sewage is disposed into our water bodies. They can harm us. And likewise, they're using, or the industries producing farm produce for our consumption is also beneficial to us. The last point is bush burning. Now, this bush burning is mostly not beneficial, mostly not it's in a way, sometimes it helps to clear a particular unwanted farm produce. But the moment you don't try and put up the fire that you have set, it gets to the whole farm. That is when it's more disastrous, bush burning. So in a way, our human activities influence organisms and ourselves in our natural habitats. So all these ones form the biotic component in an ecosystem, the natural and biological components in an ecosystem. I would pause here for any question on what we've done so far. If no question, then I'll move to the types of habitats. Okay, so let's look at the types of habitats. We've already spoken about what these habitats are, what they are made up of. We'll look at the exact types of habitats that we have. First, let's look at the definition for the habitat. It's more or less like a revision again. To a particular natural place within an environment where an organism can live successfully. A particular natural place within an environment where an organism can live successfully. Now, these organisms adapt to situations in that environment or that particular place for survival. So in a habitat, adaptation is the key component when we talk about habitat. It's very key, very important. You have to adapt to situations in your environment before you can live. Now I made mention of when the first time you went to senior high school. Now the moment, especially the borders, the first day you got to campus, it wasn't a nice experience though. But with time, now I can strongly say that you've adapted to situations in the school. So when you are going to school, you are happy. But just try and recollect the first time you were entering the school, and you would know what I'm talking about. So that is adaptation. Now, how would we define this adaptation? Now, adaptation is defined as certain characteristics of organisms, living organisms, which enables them to survive in their surroundings. So there are certain characteristics of living organisms which enables them to survive in their surroundings. That is adaptation. Now, these characteristics should enable them to be able to survive and live successfully in that habitat. That is adaptation. Now, there are two types of habitats. We have the aquatic and the terrestrial habitat. Aquatic and terrestrial habitat. Today, we are going to look at only the aquatic habitat. We'll focus our attention on only the aquatic habitat. Now, because it's elective biology, there are some important things I need to know about this aquatic habitat. So we need to go deeper a bit. Now, this aquatic habitat is, in simple terms, water habitat, water. So aqua stands for water. Okay. So as I said, we look at the aquatic or water habitat. Now, habitat in water is referred to as the aquatic habitat. Such places include all water bodies like rivers, lakes, seas, oceans, etc. Now, I've given you 4 water bodies. I want you to use the chat button and also give me examples of other water bodies aside this river, lake, seas, and oceans. I need other examples of water bodies that you know. You shouldn't mention river, you shouldn't mention lake, you shouldn't mention sea or ocean. So let your answers come. Okay, I have answers from Ibrahim, then Sandra, Obenewa. Okay, now this aquatic habitat is subdivided into 2 portions. This aquatic habitat is divided into sub 2 portions. Now, the first part of the aquatic habitat is a freshwater habitat. So, in a way, there are 2 types of aquatic habitats. There are 2 types of aquatic habitats. We have the freshwater and the marine or salt water. We have the freshwater habitat and the marine or salt habitat. Let's first look at the freshwater habitat. Now, this freshwater habitat, they are the rivers, the lake, the pond, the stream. These are examples of freshwater habitat. Now, as the name sounds, they are fresh. They are pure fresh water. Put it that way. Now, examples of organisms that you can find in the freshwater habitat. You have fish. Now, this fish, I wasn't too specific, so let me be more specific. Fishes that they don't have or they require low salt content. So let me use the word tilapia. So let me put tilapia there. So tilapia, frog, duck, lotus, and water lily. Now, this lotus and water lily are freshwater plants. They are not animals. The fish, frog, and duck are animals. Then the lotus and the water lily are plants that are found in the fresh water. Now, organisms in the freshwater habitat may live in different parts of the habitat. They occupy different parts in the habitat, different parts in the habitat. Now, these different parts that they occupy in the habitat are what we call zones. The different parts that these organisms will live in water are what we call zones. Now, I'm going to give you the zones that you have in a freshwater habitat. There are only 3 zones in a freshwater habitat. Now, the first zone in the freshwater habitat is the littoral zone. Littoral zone. Littoral zone. Now, this littoral zone is a shallow water region where sunlight penetrates to the bottom. The shallow water region where sunlight penetrates to the bottom. So normally the littoral zone is on the surface of the water body. 2, the benthic zone. The benthic zone is towards the bottom. That is in between the surface and the bottom of the water bodies. So intermediate of that freshwater body. Now, it is the deep water area which is beyond the region of sunlight penetration. So the portion where sunlight can penetrate is the surface. At the point where, at the middle portion, sunlight cannot penetrate. That is the benthic zone. Then the third zone is a muddy bottom zone. The muddy bottom zone. Now, this one is a dark region with no sunlight. Florence.
Sure.
Hi, your hand was up. Florence.
So please, yeah, I can't hear you well.
Your hand was up.
Yes. Your voice is low. That's why I raised my hand.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No, please.
You can't hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try muddy bottom zone. Muddy bottom zone. It is the very dark region with no sunlight. So at this point, in the water, the freshwater body, there's no sunlight penetration here. Now, only few organisms are found here because it's full of moist soil and mud. So at this region, this is where you would have the roots of water plants. Just the roots of water plants. Then you would see the leaves of this plant at the littoral zone. Then the rest of the plant, you would have them at the benthic zone. So the muddy is where you find the roots of this plants, water plants. So these are the three regions of our fresh water habitat. Now I've placed some information here that you need to know. Now, I don't know if some of you have ever heard the word plankton. Plankton, Plankton, plankton. Now, people would define to them as surface dwellers. They are organisms that are found, these organisms, both plant and animal, that are found on the surface of water. Now, these organisms are not directed by currents of the water, or they don't move against the currents of the water. So wherever they look as if they are motionless on the water. When the current of the water is going this way, it goes along, but they can't move against the current of water. So when the current is going this way, they can't go the other way, like how the tilapia, the whale, and shark, they move in opposite directions. So they are just carried along. So they are normally found on the surface of water bodies. Now, on these water bodies, that is on the surface of these freshwater water bodies, you have microscopic unicellular prototists. Microscopic unicellular prototists. Example, you have the algae, whether it's blue-green algae, red algae, the brown, you all constitute what we call the phytoplankton. So unicellular prototists on the surface of freshwater habitat are referred to as the phytoplankton. Then again, on this same surface of freshwater habitat, you would find floating freely on water surface water plants. So all water plants, that is majority of what you see is the leaves. What you see there, they are referred to as hydrophytes. So water plants are also referred to as hydrophytes. Now, these water plants are also referred to as hydrophytes. Examples, you have water lettuce, duckweed, aquatic fern, etc. So there are other examples that you could give on water plants. Remember, I said they are called hydrophytes, also called hydrophytes. The second example of the aquatic habitat is the marine or salt habitat. Marine or salt habitat. So as you can see from the name, marine, salt water. So every water that contains salt, it has salt content, is the marine water or marine habitat. Now, examples of this marine habitat, we have only two. There are only two. That is the sea and ocean. Now, they form the largest habitat on the planet. The largest habitat on planet we have today, the sea and the ocean. Now, commonly found organisms in the sea and oceans are the whale, dolphins, shark, octopus, starfish, jellyfish. You can give more examples if you can. Then with the plants, you have seaweeds are the most common. These are all organisms that can be found inside the marine water. Now, how is the nature of this marine water? Now, the water or the marine water contains high amount of salt. It contains high amount of salt. That is sodium chloride, NaCl, sodium chloride, common salt. It contains high amount of this salt with depth of water, current, tides, light penetration, and temperature as factors influencing the marine water. So factors that affect this marine water, you have the depth of water, how deep the water is. 2, the currents of the marine water. 3, the tides that takes place on this marine water. 4, light penetration, that is sunlight penetration into the marine water. Then the last one, temperature, that affects organisms in their ecosystem or in that particular habitat. Now, like this freshwater habitat, there are also zones or different levels that organisms occupy in the marine habitat. Now, as the freshwater has 3 zones, the marine water or marine habitat has 8 zones. You just need to know what that there are 8, what they are in your higher studies, that is university, polytechnic, training colleges. You learn more about what these zones talk about. So you have splash or supratidal zone, intertidal zone, subtidal zone, littoral zone, neritic zone, oceanic zone, euphotic zone, and diphotic or diphotic zones. So these are 8 zones that are found in the marine water. Now remember, in water habitat or in the aquatic habitat, all organisms have a particular zone in the water bodies that they can adapt and survive there. We have those that are found on the surface of the water bodies. That is what they normally are. The tilapia, the mudfish, those are surface dwellers. They are normally on the surface. Then you have those that are beneath the surface, the middle portion. Organisms are there. Then you have those that are found going to the bottom, deep down the bottom of the water body, where you can find these sharks and octopus. That's where they normally are. They just come to the surface. These sharks come to the surface just to breathe in and go back to where they are coming from. Okay. Now this may look funny to you. It may look funny to you, but let's look at what it means. Brackish water. Brackish water. Now we've mentioned, we've talked about the freshwater habitat and the marine habitat. Now this brackish water is just when these two water they in a way they intertwine, they mix up. So the point where the freshwater and the marine water they are mixed together is what we call the brackish water. So if you can see, you have brackish water has a salinity between that of the fresh water and the sea water. You have a salinity between freshwater and the sea water. Now there are some fluctuations, that is either a rise or a decrease in the brackish water. That is influenced by their environmental conditions. Now these are variation in salinity, that is their salt content, how salty or how less salty they are. Their tidal level, tide level. You know what tidal waves are, so their tide level. Then 3, changes in their season. Changes in their season. Now, examples of this brackish water, there are 2 examples, that is lagoons and estuarine. Or estuaries or estuarine. Now, there are just 2. Now, lagoon is a brackish water, not a freshwater or a marine water. Now, this estuarine, I'll explain what they are. It has already been explained down, so we'll look at what they are. Now, these conditions causes the brackish water to tolerate or accept only restricted number of organisms. Variation in salinity, tidal level, and change in season enables only a restricted number of organisms to survive there. Now, this brackish water enables organisms that they don't like freshwater habitats, and they don't also like marine water, but they like a place where the salinity is between fresh water and sea or salt water. Now, these estuaries are places where the saline water of sea mixes with that of the fresh water of rivers. So this is the point where fresh water and salt water, they mix up, they meet and mix up. Estuaries. Now, examples of organisms that can be found in the brackish water includes crab, oysters, mud skippers, a form of fish. It's a form of fish. Mangrove. The mangrove is a plant that is found on water. Their roots are normally on land. It's in water, but normally around an island. That is where these mangroves are found. So you can have this red mangrove, then the white mangrove. Those are examples of the mangroves that we have. So let's look at the adaptations of organisms for the aquatic habitat. So a summary of what we've done about the aquatic habitat. This is just a summary of what we've done about the aquatic habitat. 1, aquatic plants have narrow stem to prevent them from being carried away by water current. They have narrow stem to prevent them from being carried away by water currents. 2, their stems have air chambers that allow them to float on or in the water. 3, duck and even frog or toad, they have webbed feet that enables them or helps them in swimming. 4. Gills are special organs that helps fish to breathe underwater. Gills are special organs that help the fish to breathe underwater. The next one, the body of these fishes have streamlined body, allowing them to swim fast by resisting or reducing the resistance in water. The next one, you have dolphins and whales having blowholes at the upper part of their heads. They have blowholes at the upper part of their heads, which enables them to come to the surface of the water and breathe in air through the blowholes from time to time. So the moment you see a dolphin, shark, or whale coming to the surface of the water, they are coming to breathe in air through their blowholes, then they go back. This is just for some time. Then they go back into the water body. So this is where we end the aquatic habitat. This is where we end the aquatic habitat. If you have any question, you let me know. I answer them, we continue. Question on what we have done on the aquatic habitat. Okay, so let's look at the terrestrial habitat. Land habitat. Would pick up just one. So just these two, then we are done. So the terrestrial habitat, as you have already established, that we have two types. That is the aquatic habitat, water habitat, and the terrestrial land habitat. Now this is the habitat on land and may vary depending on physical factors. Such as amount of rainfall, temperature, and soil type. So these are the three factors that affect us on land: amount of rainfall, temperature, and the type of soil. These three things influence or are factors that affect us in an ecosystem or on land. The vegetation type of a habitat may also influence the type of animals that may inhabit it. So the type of vegetation would determine or tell you the kind of organisms or animals that will be found in the terrestrial habitat. Now this terrestrial habitat, like the aquatic habitat, is made up of three types or three forms. You have one, the tropical rainforest. One, tropical rainforest. Two, savanna or grassland. Then three, desert. We have one, tropical rainforest. Two, savanna or grassland. Then three, the desert. But today we can only look at the tropical rainforest, then we end here. Now, what are the features of this tropical rainforest? What are the features of or adaptations of this tropical rainforest? Now, they have trees, or they have more trees. with rainfalls throughout the year, giving a high yearly total. So in the tropical rainforest, there are lots of trees there, and they have tall trees, and throughout the year, it rains as compared to the savanna or the grassland, where you have a particular month that it rains. We over here, we can say that we have June, July for it to rain. No, yes, it rains anytime. So throughout the year, it can rain throughout. Maybe every month it rains once because of the number of trees there. The trees are the most abundant. Now, other plants are found growing on, around, or under the trees. Now, commonly found in the rainforest is a kind of relationship between plants, epiphytism. I explained this in the biotic factors, that is plants with weak stem getting attached to a tall tree or a tall plant to reach sunlight. Now, in this epiphytism, one plant, that is epiphyte, is found attached growing on another plant but not harm the other. So as I already explained, these epiphytes, they are found attached to the main plant. Okay, so Johnson has stated Fen very well. So they are attached or found growing on another plant but do not harm them. So as I made mention earlier, their main purpose is just to reach sunlight to be able to produce their own food. Now let's look at animals that are found in this tropical rainforest. One, the organisms, these animals are classified into two. That is ground animals and arboreal animals. Now the ground animals are those that are found on the forest floor. When I say forest floor, so the bottom, the lower surface of the forest, the stem on the ground. Let me use the word on the ground of the forest, where you can walk. Those are ground animals. Examples, you have reptiles. So reptiles that are found on the forest floor, mammals, rodents. So reptiles like let me use lizard. Mammals like lion, pig. Rodents like mice or rats. You have millipedes, centipedes. They are all ground animals. Now, the second type of animal are the arboreal animals. They live in the trees. That is, they live above or high above the forest floor. So they inhabit the canopy high above the forest floor. Examples, you can have chameleon. It's an example of the reptile. So that one is found on top or on the trees. You have birds, bats. They are all examples of mammals. The tree frog, grasshoppers, butterfly, spiders. They all live on trees high above the forest floor. So these are the two kinds of organisms that you would find in the tropical rainforest. So ground animals they are found on the ground, forest floors, and arboreal animals, they are found on the trees, living there. Their home is on the trees. So this is just for the tropical rainforest. In our next lesson, we'll look at the savanna or grassland and the desert. We'll look at the savanna and grassland and desert. So I entreat that you go and read on these two. I entreat that you go and read on these two. Then next week we'll pick up from there. Thank you. Okay, so I would hand over